You sound like James. Buck dancing, shoe shining, boot licking, handkerchief head Uncle Tom.
You see him on the news.
CNN.com contributor, Dean Obeidallah. So, Dean...
Watch him at comedy clubs.
When I say Mecca, do you think of a holy place or an urban clothing line?
Read his articles. And you hear him on the radio. The Dean Obeidallah Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters of the Resistance. Friday, October 5th, we're live the next 3 hours. I'm Dean Obeidallah on Twitter, at Dean Obeidallah, Facebook.com/Dean of Radio. You can watch a special live streaming going on because I'm joined by two special guests with me right here in studio. But before I say that, I want to ask you a question. Did you watch Susan Collins today? If you did you feel that sense of disgust and outrage and anger? Good. Hold on to it. Tap into it. Anytime you wonder if you should vote or work harder between now and Election Day, which is 32 days away, remember how you felt today. And I hope that inspires you to get out and vote because the stakes are so high. There's only one way to defeat this cancer. That's getting out on November 6th. Right now, though, I'm flanked by two great people from SiriusXM Progress. We have to my left Michelangelo Signorile, who just finished hosting his show. Michael, thanks for sticking around for a little bit.
Thank you, Dean. Great to be here.
And to my right, Mark Thompson, who sleeps in the studio when he's not doing his show. We woke him up, and he's here. Mark, how are you, buddy?
How are you, man? Thank you for having me.
So, gentlemen, I want to play one clip from Susan Collins' speech, and then I want to have your response. This clip to me is, one of the angering ones, because she's sort of pretending to care about standards and burdens of proof, and Dr. Ford, and she had said, I'm not saying Dr. Ford wasn't attacked like she was, blah, blah, blah. Here's clip number 1.
Fairness would dictate that the claims at least should meet a threshold of more likely than not as our standard. The facts presented do not mean that Professor Ford was not sexually assaulted that night or at some other time, but they do lead me to conclude that the allegations failed to meet the more likely than not standard. Therefore, I do not believe that these charges can fairly prevent Judge Kavanaugh from serving on the court.
So, Mark, what's your reaction? Now, I wanted to play that clip for people because it was one of the aggravating clips to me. What's your reaction overall?
She is, well, let me say this first of all. She bought into the argument that was made by the gentleman, I can't think of his name now, who tried to say that someone else raped.
Oh, Whalen.
Right. So Whalen hadn't, even though he apologized and he said it was wrong,
right.
She's saying the same thing. Oh, we believe she was raped, but it wasn't raped by Kavanaugh. Who was she raped? Who was she raped by? And what? So she don't know who she raped, and which really is also misogynistic. That's Susan Collins as a woman, her internalized misogyny. That's like saying somebody got you pregnant, but you don't know who the father is. Somebody raped you, but they just ran a train on you. You don't know which one it was who raped you. But I was hard on Susan earlier. I called her battle axe and everything for saying this. But I'm gonna go something. Susan Collins was gang raped today. McConnell, Cornyn, Orrin Hatch, all those no good Republicans forced her. They abused her power on behalf of Kavanaugh to make her do that. She is a victim herself as a woman because she does not feel she has the strength to stand up on her own. So she's a secondary victim of Brett Kavanaugh.
And Michael, what's your reaction? I know you just talked about it in your show, but what's your reaction?
Well, right there in that clip, again, as Mark said, she was trying to push this idea that Christine Blasey Ford was raped, but maybe by somebody else. But even among the people who have pushed that idea among conservative pundits and everything, I thought she showed so little compassion, even as a woman, talking about this, that I just think the mask was off here of Susan Collins, the so-called moderate. And the one thing, she said there was nothing to corroborate. The one thing that Dr. Ford said that was crystal clear was she will never forget that it was Brett Kavanaugh. That is the thing that is in her mind so strong, and Mark Judge was there. And the 4 witnesses that were interviewed were not the witnesses that Dr. Ford's lawyers gave to the FBI. It's an FBI sham investigation. She had called for it. She was among those who called for it, but she obviously didn't really want an investigation. She wanted to be able to go up there and do this, as Mark says, for those men. They put women in back of them, other women senators, right? I was saying it was like The Handmaid's Tale.
It was.
They were there to help ensure their bodies will be taken over by men and controlled by men when they overturn Roe v. Wade.
To me, she could have simply voted for Brett Kavanaugh, but by going out there and making that speech, I agree with both of you. I think she became the GOP's female apologist for sexual assault.
That's right.
And gave them so that America sees these clips of, oh, wow, this mild-mannered, moderate woman, they call moderate, out there saying, hey, he's okay. And she went through a litany of things why he's okay. And I'm not sure how many people watch it. I don't know how many people's minds were moved by that. Mark, do you think it makes any difference to anyone out there who was still, I don't mean senators, Americans, undecided to see Susan Collins come out there as a woman and defend Brett Kavanaugh?
I think it makes difference. See, unfortunately, the way the country's so divided now, and if I could just put on my minister hat for a minute.
Sure.
Every story in the Old Testament where there is rape or sexual assault results in a civil war between the tribes of Israel, believe it or not.
Wow.
And the last story in the book of Judges, ironically, where the Levite submits his concubine to be gang raped. And so the Israelites and the Benjamites go into a civil war. That's where we are right now. So it was going to cut one of two ways. If she had said no and his nomination went down, Trump and them were going to run on in and mobilize that in November. People talking about their numbers have gone up.
Right,
The mainstream
right.
media trying so hard not to be liberal, not that it ever was. Oh, look at their numbers going up. They never reported on
There's
our
no
numbers.
and there's no data.
Right, and they've never bragged about our numbers. But now this confirms that our numbers will go up. But remember now, we said last week, I think we all agreed on this. They're willing to lose the House and the Senate.
Sure.
Because a lifetime appointment, you ain't got to worry about that in 2020 and 2022 and 2024. You got a lifetime devil on the court. And they were willing to go for that. And they made that deal with the devil, literally. And so I think it only helps us. It's going to hopefully wake up more women. Susan Collins, people ought to run against her. And I think consumers should boycott every performance, movie, television show that Susan Sarandon is in. Because I'm going to be honest with you.
I thought you were going to say boycott Maine.
I know. I didn't
No, but
Susan Sarandon. Are we going to go at Bernie and she didn't vote for Hillary? Are you going back there?
Yeah, because Susan
Let's
Sarandon
not
was
relitigate that. Oh my
No, I don't want
God.
to relitigate, but what I'm saying is that I agree with Madeleine Albright. She shouldn't apologize. There's a special place in hell now for Susan Collins for what she did.
Right.
And that for those who didn't vote for Hillary, they need to understand they voted for Kavanaugh when they didn't vote for Hillary. They helped confirm Kavanaugh. That was a vote for Kavanaugh.
And we are 32 days away from change that. I want to play another clip, and Michael, I'll have you respond. This is clip number 3. This is her. It starts out with Susan Collins saying, the people who know Kavanaugh best say he's a good guy. And then in the world of science fiction, she goes, and he's going to bring more credibility to the Supreme Court by being there. A guy who has no credibility, who's making the Supreme Court a laughingstock, a punchline.
Right.
And I want to play this because I'm just like, who wrote this garbage you're reading for us? Here's clip number 3, please.
We've heard a lot of charges and countercharges about Judge Kavanaugh. But as those who have known him best have attested, he has been an exemplary public servant, judge, teacher, coach, husband, and father. Despite the turbulent, bitter fights surrounding his nomination, my fervent hope is that Brett Kavanaugh will work to lessen the divisions in the Supreme Court so that we have far fewer 5-4 decisions, and so that public confidence in our judiciary and our highest court is restored.
How honestly, how detached from reality you have to be to believe that Brett Kavanaugh being elevated to the Supreme Court is going to bring credibility to that court and lessen the partisan divide of that court?
She is in a bubble. She's totally in a bubble. She's removed from the public, and so are, Grassley and McConnell and all of them. And that we've seen by them suddenly realizing the public is out there protesting them and everything. That was disastrous, I think, because you were asking Mark, will this change anything? I only think it changes things for us.
Okay.
She is saying the same things that pundits have been saying on TV, that whole thing about how, listen to the women in his life, and women, conservative women on TV who are defending, she's saying what Sarah Huckabee Sanders is saying. She's saying what Kellyanne Conway is saying. So I don't think it adds anything because she said it. And I think it only gives the progressives and the base and Democrats more to run on, it's more fuel, it's rocket fuel for us to hear that. I think they would have been smarter to simply have her vote, and give a comment in the hallway like every other
speech did more. I can watch people on Twitter going
what were they
crazy.
hoping to do? Were they hoping that there were all these women that are gonna change their minds? Women are organizing in suburbs all across this country against Donald Trump. As Charlie Cook, one of the, the Cook report, the prognosticator said, in a week, this election is going to be back to being about Trump, not Kavanaugh.
Right,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's right.
Especially
In one
because
week.
he'll be confirmed. If he was not confirmed, it'd be different.
I mean, the way she described him, he's going to bring, what is she talking about in terms of bring balance to the court or to the force?
He's to the right of Kennedy.
She might as well say he's going to solve cancer. He's going to find a cure to Alzheimer's. She's just pulling stuff out of thin air. She didn't write that speech last night. All this make-believe, undecided.
Right.
That hour-long speech has been sitting in the can. Also, how can you condone an FBI investigation that didn't interview corroborative witnesses? So no, I think Mike is right. In the long run, I mean, they'll win the battle but lose the war. And let me just say this.
Go ahead.
And you all remember this. In 2008, the Republicans were completely vanquished as a party. The president at the time decided, well, I'm going to do Abraham Lincoln, and we're going to bring everybody together. And no, we have a multi-party democracy already within the Democratic Party. We don't need the Republican Party. But we have every constituency already in the Democratic Party. It's a bunch of little parties into one. And sometimes we can't all get along.
Sure.
So let's deal with our party as more representative of people and the Republican Party as only being the party of white male privilege that exploits women like they did Susan Collins today.
But at the same time, in that very speech where she's saying, I'm supporting Brett Kavanaugh, she gave a little nod to the Me Too movement and how we have to help women. And I want to play this clip to me because this is the height of hypocrisy. So let's hear clip number 4.
Every person, man or woman, who makes a charge of sexual assault deserves to be heard and treated with respect. The Me Too movement is real. It matters. It is needed, and it is long overdue. We know that rape and sexual assault are less likely to be reported to the police than other forms of assault. On average, an estimated 211,000 rapes and sexual assaults go unreported every year. We must listen to survivors, and every day we must seek to stop the criminal behavior that has hurt so many.
We have to listen to survivors and then vote to elevate the person that abused them to the highest court in the land for a lifetime appointment. That if you were just listening to that in a vacuum, you think, wow, she's probably voted against Brett Kavanaugh.
Well, again, a miscalculation. That was tacked on at the end, right? After she did her whole thing.
Google.
And if you were going to give the speech, I think it was stupid to give the speech at all, but if you were going to give the speech, it should have begun with that kind of talk and the compassion and the discussion about how this is very difficult but I have to, in the end, do X, Y, and Z. Instead, she comes out guns blazing, attacking liberals, the Democrats, claiming what I thought was the most appalling part was when she claimed that there's all this dark money that's been spent to try to elect, to defeat Brett Kavanaugh, when in fact there's tens of millions of dollars more
all the commercial
dark money to elect Brett Kavanaugh, to put Brett Kavanaugh on the court.
When I heard that line, I'm like, you've got to be kidding. I'm joined here by Mark Thompson and Michelangelo Signorile. We're live right here. A reaction, the full team coverage to what's going to happen now, which is the confirmation. Progress Avengers. So speaking of Avengers, you guys have touched on this point here, the idea that this will animate us. And I just want to remind people, after 1991, Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill, that next election, 1992, just the next year, became the Year of the Woman, it was called. And that you had 47 women elected to the House, 24 new women. That was the largest number of women elected to the House in any single election, overwhelmingly Democrats. Where do you think this comes? Like, if they didn't confirm Brett Kavanaugh, Mark, who do you think that helps more in the midterms getting their base out? You think it would have helped them more?
Well, our base was already mobilized.
Right.
And I think that, victory would have continued us. It probably would have mobilized some of theirs. But see, they always have what they've always had. That's the conservative white males. They've got that on lock. Mm-hmm. The real vote that we're in competition for is women, suburban white women, all of that. And I think that in any case, suburban white women, those who were still holding out for him, who were still with him, and I think that's a very small number, was shifting to us anyway. So it's not like those suburban white men would have said, "Oh, we're going to go back to Trump now because Kavanaugh was not confirmed." I don't believe that.
And don't forget, they all watched Trump attack Christine Blasey Ford the other night, and mocking her and attacking her and vilifying her. Absolutely. So,
and the gender gap in support for Kavanaugh is really stark. I mean, it's a huge divide between men and women overall. And white men and white women, there's a big divide there as well, especially college-educated white women. Over 60% believe Dr. Ford.
Right.
And that was pretty impressive. And I think those are the people who are going to support us.
And I think what we are seeing is, I think we'll see what happens in November, but I think we're seeing a wave that's growing that nobody is calculating. We've seen it in the primaries. Nobody thought Andrew Gillum in Florida was going to win the primary.
That's right. That's
African-American Tallahassee
I didn't
mayor,
think so.
Right?
He was on Mark's show like a couple days before. I'm like, no way.
Right, and because there's underpolling of the people who didn't vote before, we are bringing out the people who didn't vote before. They don't have. They just have their deplorables.
When you see a spike, When you see a spike in voter registration of over 1 million in Texas, it's not older white conservatives registering for the first time. Let's be honest. That's not what's happening. There could be some conservatives in there, but it tends to be people of color, younger people. Mark,
Beto's gonna win. Stacey's gonna win. Andrew's gonna win. Ben Jealous is gonna win. Lucy McBath, Jordan Davis's mother's gonna win. I mean, people in 6th District in Georgia.
Right.
We can do this. It's gonna be a women's wave. They've already announced another big women's march in January. So this is really where it's at. We are going to win. But as I said, to them, it's worth it because a Supreme Court justice, as a listener of mine said, we need to stop saying lifetime, because that's not as impactful as the real word. A caller of mine said we need to start calling it what it is: forever.
It is forever. It's forever.
Forever.
So let me ask you before we go to break, and you guys can stay or not afterwards. Yet, while I feel this animation is outrage and incensed by it, there are some women on Twitter who were tweeting to me today that I'm demoralized. This is breaking my heart what I'm seeing. Others saying I'm outraged. What do you say, and both of you, what do you say to those people out there who are progressives or even independent women who are like, oh my God, we can't win? They've gone backwards. Clarence Thomas was accused of sexual harassment. Now we have a guy accused of sexual assault 27 years later, and they're elevating him. We're going backwards as a country. Mm-hmm. What do you say to these women and men out there who might be losing hope? And it's something I deal with all the time. I don't want them to lose hope.
First of all, people have been dealing with sexual assault and sexual abuse for many, many years. And Anita Hill kind of put it on the radar, right, in a particular moment in time. And even though this played out the way it did right now, we've come a long way from then. The fact that this even got as far as it did, I think, is a testament to that. The fact that women have been, just in the Me Too movement, literally just the last 2 years, year and a half before this, right, coming forward, and men have been admitting to what they're doing and stepping down, I think shows there's been enormous progress. But there's a backlash. There's always a backlash, right, to everything, whether it's marriage equality, whether it's, women standing up and speaking out. And so that's what this is. And I say to people, there will be a backlash. Be ready for it. Yes, take that moment and kind of get yourself together, but you got to get back out and fight. You got to fight.
And what do you say, Mark, to get people?
Let me answer this way. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Bette Midler got in trouble last night for an unfortunate tweet she made. She said, women are the N-word of the world. And it wasn't all her fault, because that was actually a song by John Lennon and Yoko Ono. They got in trouble when they said it. Well, while people were offended by it, if that were true, people wouldn't be demoralized and give up so easy. It took African Americans on paper in this country 200 years to end chattel slavery. 400 years if you count those who were brought to South America and the Caribbean before they got to the United States in 1400.
Sure.
So that is what Frederick Douglass called eternal vigilance. So, everybody needs to understand it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen, may not happen next year, but 2018 in November is a start, and we cannot give up. We cannot get comfortable. Justice is an ongoing battle. It's not, okay, we got it, and then we're going to go home and go to sleep. That's true for the African-American community. It's true for women. It's true for Muslims. It's true for LGBTQIAs. It's true for the working class. We have got to, and the poor, it is true for all of us. We cannot rest. Our activism has to be on election day and every other 364 days of the year.
I agree. Wait, before you guys go, can I get you to chime in on one call to give me a lesson here?
I'm good. I don't know what
All
Mike's
right,
time is.
okay, all right.
I know
Mark's,
Mike.
hang on.
I know
Here's,
Mike has a social life. You got to go.
Al from New Jersey, you there?
I'm here.
All right, so you're conservative. Good. I got Mark and Mike here to help. I'm going to just watch this as a lab experiment. Go ahead, Al. No, seriously, go ahead.
Al don't want to talk to me.
Yeah, I've never seen such nonsense in my whole life. That woman didn't say one thing that can be proven. She slandered him so badly, he may never recover. People are always going to have that in their head that he did these things, and it's not true.
Yeah.
did-
So
'cause
how
he did
come?
it.
So how come Al? He didn't want to clear himself.
He did clear himself.
Yeah, you're right. Every time his daughter Googles her
Right,
name,
right.
rapist is
Right.
going to come up. That's a terrible thing to do to your child. So
Right,
why not take
right.
a polygraph
He didn't-
test? And
he
why
didn't
not
do anything
why not take
wrong.
a polygraph test and ask the FBI? Demand the FBI speak with you. Not say I'm ready to cooperate. Demand that you be part of the FBI investigation.
Why do you people
and
always get it so wrong?
clear your name for
people.
your daughter. He treated his daughter and his wife, his children, terribly by not clearing his name. Forever, he will be the Supreme Court justice who's a rapist.
And that's why he should have withdrawn out of concern for his family. Because this is going to be a terrible stain on those shows. They have to live with that. They'll always have to wonder whether their father is a rapist. And so if he was concerned about his daughters and his family, he should have withdrawn, Al.
No, all these you people need to apply.
What do you mean by you?
common
Who are you
sense.
calling you
You
people?
people, you mean the Muslim, the black guy, or the gay guy?
Got
Who's the you people?
A Muslim, a black, and a gay. White power.
Let me finish. Why don't you shut up? Let me finish.
Oh, are you going to tell me to shut up, Al? You going to tell me to shut up?
Come on, give him a devil.
That woman, her mother and father had their house foreclosed on in 1990.
No, they
Oh,
didn't. No, they
there's
didn't.
another
That's not
lie.
true. That's
a
not
lie,
true.
a
That's
lie.
not true.
Quiet so I
A
can
lie.
tell you.
You've been watching the Fox
Al,
News too much.
Al, you and your kind. Since you want to say you people, you
That's
with
right. My
your
kind applies common sense.
your
Trump,
kind. No, your
common
kind
sense.
implies
Look
racism,
how good-
sexism,
look
white
how
male
good the
privilege, and white
Republicans-
supremacy, and you're coming to an end. That's
And
why you're calling.
pushing a
That's why you're
that's a
threatening.
conspiracy.
I wish
You're
you guys were
pushing
every
White
show.
power.
You're pushing a conspiracy that's been disproven.
White power.
His mother never foreclosed on their home. In fact, his mother made sure that they that on her parents' home. In fact, his mother made sure
That's right.
his parents stayed in the home. Her parents stayed in the home. So you got that wrong, Al. You got a lot of conspiracies, I'm sure.
No. There's no truth in what you're saying. I watched the whole thing, okay?
Okay.
They praised that woman up and down, and she didn't come out with one truthful statement. I think she's
You don't
a
know,
liar.
but
I
see-
think
but
she's
what are you
a
talking-
lunatic.
You are
And I
a
think
rape
Donald
apologist.
Trump is
You probably
100%
raped somebody
right.
yourself. You are a rape apologist.
Why is Trump always right? He is.
Always right. In what world is he always right, my friend?
Look at how well the
Rape
country's
apologist.
doing right now. Now
He
what
inherited a
doing
great
when
economy from President
was
Obama. You
president.
should kiss Obama's feet. He
When
inherited a
Obama-
fabulous
when
economy.
Obama was president, nothing good happened.
Baseball.
Nothing good happened?
I know, because he was black, right?
He
Black
brought
Paul
the economy
Obama,
back.
No, he was not qualified to be
He
president.
Because
brought-
why?
He wasn't a
Well,
rape-
no, wait,
brought
why
us
wasn't he
back.
qualified?
Done anything.
Why wasn't he
The man
qualified?
has
Because he
no
wasn't a citizen, right?
experience.
Hold it.
He lacked-
Are you saying he wasn't qualified because he wasn't a citizen?
Right. I'm saying he wasn't qualified. He never even had
Do
a
you
real
believe
job.
Barack Obama was a citizen of the United States?
Obama was a waste. We wasted
Was
8
Barack
years of
Obama a
prosperity.
citizen of the
Oh,
United
you will
States?
never convince me otherwise. I watched TV.
No, I'm
every day.
asking you a question, diarrhea of the mouth. Was Barack Obama a citizen of the United States, yes or no?
They say he was. I
Oh
never,
yeah. Okay.
All right, well then that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's it. You
All
can
right.
gang up
Yeah,
on
yeah.
it and
Ow,
do these
yeah,
clowns.
that's it.
White power!
All right,
Wow, that's
all
how you
right,
do
all
it.
right.
All right, that was a good learning lesson for me here. So don't let them talk. Because I'm like, I just talk. I'm like, all right, well,
Oh,
that's
you
not
know,
right.
I jumped right in on that
Right,
one.
but that was well. The conspiracy. All right, let's take a break. Mark might stay. Michael's been here for 3 hours. I understand, Michael. So let's take a break.
I've
Come
been
back.
here for 12 hours.
This is where you go, though. This
Great
is the kind
to
of,
be
you
here
love
with
it
you
here.
I was on
Thank
my
you
way
very
out of
much.
here.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
my friend, for staying. Oh, we'll take a quick break. Come back. Mark Thompson's going to stick around. We're going to
I
field
am.
calls and yell at conservatives. White power for the next half hour here on the Dean Obeidallah Show. Be right back.
Look, it's time the media start calling out Trump's false statements for what they are. Lies. Trump is a liar. And by the looks of it, he's lying every day and twice on Sundays.
The Dean Obeidallah Show. Welcome to the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress 127.
And welcome back to the Obeidallah Show. We're live Friday, October 5th. Thank Michelangelo Signorile for staying an extra half hour with us. Though sitting next to me still here is Mark Thompson from Make It Plain with Mark Thompson. We're going to take some phone calls, right, Mark?
All right.
And yell white power a lot of people, which I like a lot.
White power!
Not everybody. He's doing an impression, folks, of Chappelle from the original Chappelle show when he played the blind racist who didn't know he was black, didn't know he was a white. He didn't know he was black, he was a white nationalist. All right, let's take, here's Heather from Vegas. Heather, how are you tonight?
Hey, Heather.
I'm so excited. I'm getting at least 2 of my 3 favorite guys right now. Oh,
Well,
I
great.
love you guys.
And the other one's Steve Bannon. He's gone though, right? I'm kidding.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
Okay, I'm going to go on a tear. Mark knows my tears.
Good.
I am a white woman and apparently middle-aged at this point who is raising 3 boys.
Okay.
All of this is a lack of respect and education. That is the key thing with everything. Men would not be misogynist if they were okay with their mothers and women around them. Al probably is not in a relationship with anybody, or if he has been,
Al, who just called.
Oh,
right.
this guy's
That's
an
funny.
idiot. But it's got to start somewhere, and I don't know how to other than start screaming at the top of my lungs. And I've been doing it for 3 years at this point, and nobody's listening anymore. We get called Hillarys for voting for Hillary as white women.
Right.
It is a lack of respect to my Muslim friends, which I deem you are my number one, but I do
Thank
have
you.
others.
That's good.
And growing up in Flint, where there was diversity and there's water crisis, there's ignorance. This is people being brainwashed by Fox News. If there was some way that I could afford to crowdfund to give everybody Progress Channel, I would, but I don't know how, and I don't know what else to do. But everybody has to start shaking other people, like shaking retarded Al's. I don't know what else to do. And that is actually a defamation to mentally challenged people by saying that. So I apologize for referring them.
But I understand the concept. But Heather, what happened today, does it change your intensity either way in focusing on November 6th? Either way, any impact?
Yeah, it just makes me. I'm literally cannot call any more people, volunteer any more time.
Yes, can. Keep
I'm
going.
running
Keep going.
out of.
Keep going, Heather. I know you. You can keep going.
We're doing it, but at the same time, right now we're Jackie Rosen trying to get her in and get
in
Dina
Nevada,
out.
Yeah.
But
now I think that's possible now.
It is. I think she's up by a couple points.
Get Dean. She's what? She's what?
She's up by 2 points.
Get him,
polls.
Dean Heller. You're done. You're done, son.
Dean Heller didn't even show up to any of the high school graduations and or write a single letter of referral for any of the kids trying to go into the Air Force Academy, any of those things. Didn't even send a video. That's how he does not care about this.
Let me ask you a quick question, Heather. Then Mark will ask a question here. I'm sure he's got something. You touch on the idea of men being raised a certain way or a better way. And are you getting at the idea of men believing women are having more empathy? And what I'm getting at is the poll 2 days ago, the Marist poll, said 52% of women believe Dr. Ford and what she said over Brett Kavanaugh. That's how it was framed. Who do you believe? But only 37% of men. So you have this gender gap of 15 points, which is bigger than the gender gap in the last 2016 election between Trump and Hillary. That would be a record gender gap. Why do you think that gender gap is going on? How, as guys, me and Mark, how can we reach our fellow guys? Is there any sense? Because I've tried. I don't know what to do anymore.
I have friends that are literally posting videos of where they're having to stand up as that white guy going, this isn't okay, the things that you're saying. I think it's the polling. I don't know any people that have been polled. I've not been polled. None of my friends have been polled.
But these are samples of 1,000 for a nation. That's the way it goes. Right.
It is. Like I said, I have 3 boys, and you raise them to have manners and be respectful and hold the door open for a girl, and you stay in your own space. But on top of it, it's also questioning other people's religions and their beliefs. I mean, being human with each other on the same planet. It's like everybody's so absorbed or being brainwashed here where you're just like, are you kidding? We are not this one country being led by an orange man that's not even a color.
He's not even human.
and it's being...
I don't think he has a birth certificate. I think he's a live birth certificate just because he's some kind of creature, sort of like what you get with livestock. So
yeah, and
all right, so
I know we sound frustrated where you're just like, he is taking it and making it where it's somehow by the man being accused, they're now then the victim. And it's just like, are you
exactly.
kidding?
Yep. It's a tough time for young men out there. It's unreal.
Right, and it's
unreal.
It's not. It's like they need to stand up for the other girls and guys that are being sexually harassed. People don't realize that you can be sexually harassed just by something that is so minute, but it makes you feel uncomfortable. Then you're harassed. You're being harassed.
I agree. And 1 in 3 women are assaulted, which is even more evasive. So, Mark, any comment, my friend?
I like beer.
He likes beer.
I like beer. People drink beer. A lot of people drink beer. Don't you drink beer?
Girls
drink beer. Guys
boys,
drink
What
beer.
53-year-old guy says girls drink beer and boys drink beer? Like girls and boys drink beer? Like children? Are you serving beer to children? You're having beer parties? What? Boys drink beer? Girls drink beer? That was like a drunk wedding toast. I thought he was one step from yelling, "I love you, man," and trying to hug one of the senators. That was a mess.
Despicable.
All right, Heather, go ahead.
Or everyone turned into Homer Simpson. I have no idea what's going on.
Well, I'm glad to hear, though, you've made a lot of calls. You're not at all demoralized. In fact, it sounds like you might be even more, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but more intensity. And I'm trying to really get sincerely what people are feeling. What's your reaction after this today? Did it work you up more? Did it break your spirit? Did it inspire you more? Did it do nothing? And that's fine. I just want to hear how they reacted to people on the progressive side after today. Because I was angry as hell. I mean, I was angry. And so, all right, Heather, nice chatting with you. Right,
Thank you, Heather. You doing all right out there? I need to come see you.
All right, let's take a quick break. Come right back with more of the Dean Obeidallah Show.
Look, it's time the media start calling out Trump's false statements for what they are. Lies. Trump is a liar. And by the looks of it, he's lying every day and twice on Sundays.
The Dean Obeidallah Show. The biggest stories of the day. Right now. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show.
On Sirius XM Progress 127.
And welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show, live Friday, October 5th. Mark Thompson sitting with me. Michelangelo stayed with us for the first half hour. It was full team coverage of the Progress Avengers, as Mark likes to say, covering what happened today with the vote. We'll talk about it in a second. But quick thing, folks, winter's coming. We all know that. And in the bedroom, it gets more complicated in terms of sheets because one of you is warm and one person is cold. At least that's the way it is in my apartment. But Boll & Branch now, the makers of the world's most comfortable sheets, loved by 3 U.S. presidents and me, your buddy, Dean Obeidallah, offering brand new luxury flannel bedding for a limited time offer at bollandbranch.com. Unbelievably soft, warm, and breathable. And breathable is the key. That's why you'll be this different temperatures in the same room. You're not both sweating or both freezing. And the flannel sheets come in 14 stunning patterns and colors. You're guaranteed to find the style you love. Try them out risk-free 30 nights. 30 nights. Wash them, jump up and down, have breakfast in bed, do whatever you want. And if you do not love them, and their promise is if they're not the softest sheets you've ever slept on, full refund, no questions asked. And now you can get $50 off and free shipping because they made a deal with me as your MBFF. Just go to bollandbranch.com, BOLL and branch.com, and put in promo code DEAN when you're checking out. DEAN, right there. And $50 off and free shipping. That's right, bollandbranch.com, promo code DEAN. Check it out today. All right, Mark. So let me ask you quickly, Mark. A lot of anger at Susan Collins. Yet she's a Republican, and she did what the Republicans do, which is stand with the man and essentially call the women liars. Joe Manchin's a Democrat. He voted against. Right. He made it clear he's going to vote for Brett Kavanaugh. Yet I did see a little on Twitter, but not in terms of phone calls, and it's most of the ires directed at Collins. What's going on?
If Collins had voted no, Joe Manchin would have voted no.
You're guessing, or you think this?
No, I'm pretty clear on it because otherwise Joe Manchin would have carried him over.
Right, he would have announced
first. And Joe Manchin probably didn't want to do that.
Right.
So it's a win-win for him. So he can't be blamed for it, so to speak.
And also, her vote was the one that put it over. When she announced, "I'm voting for him," it was essentially it was done.
Because Murkowski and Heitkamp, they're sheroes. I mean, they stood up. They voted on principle rather than politics. Manchin waited to hear what Susan Collins was going to do before he made his announcement. Because otherwise, why not make it first?
Right.
And that's the peculiar place he's in West Virginia. We got to do something about West Virginia. What Joe Manchin should have had the courage to do, and should have the courage to do. Why is he up in the polls in West Virginia? Because he's talking about the Affordable Care Act. Even, the Hicks in West Virginia.
You say that in lovingly.
Yeah. They need the Affordable Care Act.
Sure.
Well, what he should have done is vote no. What he should do anyway is vote no. And then run on that. Because Kavanaugh is going to dismantle the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
I don't get it. I mean, that's not.
And also, Manchin, he's a former governor out there. He's like a household name, and he's actually liked very much personally.
Right.
So to beat Joe Manchin, it's not Democrat or Republican for Joe Manchin. He's a guy who they know really well and like, and they still like him.
And what women need to do in North Dakota now, Heidi Heitkamp she deserves to win now.
I know,
because
she's
of what
down
she did.
by 7 or 8 in some of the polls.
But let's see, this goes back to your original question, who's this going to help? I wouldn't be surprised if Heidi Heitkamp has a surge now.
Well, midterm elections, they're about turnout. In the last midterm, 2014, we had the lowest turnout since World War II, and that's because there was a war going on. So like 35, 40%. All you need is a percentage or two that people aren't expecting, and you tip a state. But let's take some. Here's Cindy from Maine, the state of Susan Collins. Cindy, how are you tonight?
Well, probably not as good as I was last night, Dean, but I'm still pretty hopeful.
So talk to us. Cindy is a therapist, too, who was giving me advice what to say to people if they were feeling down. So now I have to give you your own advice. Don't lose hope, Cindy. Look, folks,
I'm not.
You're not going to. But everyone out there, here's the truth. If you give up, you know who wins? Donald J. Trump. Do you want that sexist, bigot, racist to win anything against us? No. If you check out, Trump wins. And I'm not even kidding. It's literally he wins. So don't check out. So go ahead, Cindy.
He does. I wanted to call. Again, last night was the first time I've ever called a talk show. And if you remember, I'm 64. So I've been around the block
Right.
a lot.
I'm glad you picked my show over Mark Thompson's show to make your first phone calls.
Yes,
I feel
and
much better
I
about
do
it.
listen to you. I listen to Mark Thompson. I listen to Michelangelo. Bless you back, sir.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, being from Maine, and if you remember, we talked about this last night. I am not surprised that Susan Collins did what she did.
Right.
Because we in Maine, who have been challenging her to vote on principles and ethics rather than on party, have seen this over and over and over again. And I think what really literally got me to tears tonight was listening to her rationale for why she cast this vote. I mean, I felt a pit in my stomach that I haven't felt since the morning I woke up and realized that the Cheeto was now the president of the United States. That's how painful it was. And I just want to say, Mark, and I think you're a beautiful man.
Bless you. Thank you.
You want to be careful apologizing for her as though she's somehow victimized by the GOP. One thing that women don't like is when our own intelligence and our own ability to own our own decisions, even if they're totally screwed up, is masked. She knows exactly what she's doing. Susan Collins is not a naive woman. She is a pretty crafty politician, and she knows exactly what she's doing. That's why I was nauseous when she started talking about how we need to support women. If I was in a car, I think I would have driven off the road. I have to be honest. I'm being very honest.
No, you should be. And I wonder, and Mark, I was going to bring that up. To me, it seems like maybe they made a deal with her. You make this speech, you become our female GOP apologist, and we don't run anyone to the right of you in 2020 in the GOP primary. We make sure nobody, if anyone runs, we're not going to support them. We support you.
Well, but I think that strengthens my point. I would respectfully, not strenuously disagree with you, Cindy. See, I think.
Okay.
But let me just explain though. I think Dean makes a good point. Even if they dangled that in front of her face, that carrot on a stick, that still is a form of manipulation and victimization.
It absolutely is.
Now, let me just we've got to be clear. We cannot equivocate on this. White male privilege is the sickness. White male supremacy is the sickness. When you acknowledge that, you have to acknowledge who also is victimized about it. Now, some folk don't want to hear that. You're right, Cindy. Even some black folk, and they're on the right, and they say, I'm not a victim. I'm not. You've heard that.
Sure.
But then you're dishonest, intellectually dishonest, and ahistorical. Okay. You have to acknowledge the institutionalized racism, supremacy, and white male privilege that exists. And if we're honest with ourselves, then if you're not resisting it, I want to be very clear. If you're not resisting that patriarchy, you are being exploited and victimized by it. Now, that goes back, and we all do it a little bit every day. I mean, because some of us go to work every day. Some of us work in corporate. We work for Sirius XM, and Sirius XM is not necessarily a bastion of patriarchy and supremacy, but Muslims and black folk ain't running Sirius XM either. Okay,
right. That's right. I've noticed that.
Right? Did you catch that? Okay, so. I mean, but we're here to do what we do, and we have a forum to do it. So we resist here in the way that we can, and this platform is offered to us. Right. But all of us makes compromises. But at those moments when we're not making those compromises to pay the bills and just get along, we must be in a mode of resistance. And so I don't think Susan, okay, so let's I think we can split the baby here. You say she's not naive. So this is what I would say.
No.
I would say that she's somebody who refuses to acknowledge the truth and face it.
Yes.
So, and it's a thin line between that naivete. Some people cannot open that door to the truth and cannot. Yes. So she does not have the courage to say, I'm going to stand up as an independent woman and do what's right.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I think the part that galls me most, I mean, look at Heidi Heitkamp.
Oh my God.
She had every reason in the world, bless her, and I hope lots of people contribute.
I
to
hope.
her.
I hope so. I hope she's
Honestly,
rewarded.
I don't know a lot about her, but I think she's.
Well, I love her.
awesome.
I looked up to see if
All
she
right.
was married today because I love her.
Mark. All right, let's take a quick break. Cindy, nice talking to you 2 nights in a row. I appreciate it, my friend. We got to go to a break here. Be right back with more of the Dean Obeidallah Show right for this.
Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress 127. The Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress 127.
Right.
Welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show, Friday, October 5th. I'm live right here. Sitting next to me is my friend Mark Thompson, who's going to be, he's been here for the hour. Michelangelo was here for the first part of it. I appreciate it, Mark. Mark, so there's no more time to take a call. I have a minute to the hard break at the top.
Sure.
This weekend, what do you think? Tomorrow he gets confirmed. There's a special tomorrow, folks, live on our channel,
Tune in.
4 to 6. Jorge is going to be hosting with Alex Berg, 4 to 6 live Eastern time for the vote. I assume it just goes 51-49, and from there...
Yeah, that's what it's going to do. And then we got to get out and vote. Be optimistic. Eternal vigilance, folks. We can't give up.
Eternal
Women's wave.
vigilance.
Women's wave. Women's wave. Do it.
Women's wave. You got to do it. All right, Mark. Thanks very much for being
Thank you,
here, brother.
man.
I appreciate it.
Have a great
Folks,
show.
Stick
Assalamu
around.
alaikum.
Alaikum salam. When we come back, we're going to take a lot of calls this hour. I have a guest for about 15 minutes coming up. Alessandra Biaggi. She's a state senate candidate in New York here who's actually a victim of sexual assault herself and sexual abuse. And she's running for office. And she's one of the women wave. It's for state senate, but she's on her way after that. So we'll take a break, come right back. We'll be joined with her for a little bit, then we'll take your calls on the Dean Obeidallah Show.